Hello, this is my documentation of my game Shapeman. I created this game with the idea of Pac-Man. Is very much like that. Let me just turn the sound down before I start this. So quickly I'm going to give a demonstration of what the game is about. Now, this game is a very simple game and it's an abstract game. Like its predecessor Pac-Man, you are a shape, which here in this case a circle, and this is the menu screen. It's very simplistic. I didn't spend a long time on it, but if you hit into it you can see the game starts. Now the game has a soundtrack of Blame It on the Boogie, as you can hear there, by Michael Jackson. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. There we go. So the game's premise is that there is shapes going around the game, and they are if they bump into you, then you die. Let me demonstrate that quickly if I can catch up to this shape. There we go, and it sets you back to the menu screen, which could be quite angering for those who don't have lives. One thing that you do have though is when you are the same shape by hitting into a shape in the corner here, you can eat them. I would demonstrate this, but they are not my shape at the moment. However, in the middle is a shape changing thing that allows you to know what is coming next. So there you go, I know that is the triangle now, and the cross is coming afterwards. As well as this, you can collect pills in the middle, these shiny things here that give you score. If you look up at the top of the screen, so you see my score is rapidly going up. Now the objective of the game is to eat everything on the field. So when these shapes turn into my shape, let me just, here we go, and there's just one left. If I eat all these, okay, if I turn to this, okay, so if I eat this final shape, and the next level starts, which is good, and it's a bit harder level. So that's simple. The game is simple, it is easy to pick up. Now to run you through the nitty gritty of the actual game. So if we look at the sprites here, if I close down all these other folders, we have 3 main folders on the sprites and just 3 sprites sitting out. So we have an obstacles folder, which is the sprite wall. Simple enough sprite. It is just, as said, there to be a wall, just a square with 3 shades of purple and a bit of black around the edge to stand it out, make it bold. We also have the sprite player, which is just a circle, 2 colours, the sprite pentagon, and so on. We have 4 of every shape on the field though. However, this links to the objects, as there is 4 of each shapes for the objects. I will go into detail why later on. We also have, moving on from the monsters, so we have pentagon, circle, cross, triangle and a square on the game. We also have the sprite pill, which is, as you saw in the middle, the thing you collect for points. We have sprite death, which is, if I show you here, a little death animation I try to make. That is when an enemy collides with you. And the sprite start, which is simple enough, just a start button. Moving on to the sounds, as you can see here, MJ is the sound that plays on the game. Saxman and World Song were going to be added onto the game for different levels, for when it got harder, or different levels that had a different theme. However, I never got to that far. I created 2 levels, 3 rooms, 2 levels, and I decided to keep it with Blame on the Boogie because that was something that would refer to the game, like Pac-Man's kind of, well, I don't know if it has a music bit, that kind of music stays the same. Moving on to the backgrounds. The background is a simple abstract background that I could find. It's just called background 1 because there's no other background level. I didn't go around to the shapes like that. And you can see here it's just simply a nice little background. It looks quite cool, looks abstract, it fits the game perfectly. It's exactly what I wanted it for. Moving on to the objects. We have the object wall. It has no events or actions because it is not moving, so therefore it doesn't need an event or need to do anything other than be a solid object, which I've ticked here. As we move on to player, now this is where you're going to see a lot of similarities. The player actually has 5 objects dedicated to calling themselves the player. We have the circle player, the triangle player, the cross, the pentagon, and the square. I think I didn't know if I said that. We have those 5 players basically, and they all have the same. If it collides with a wall, it will stop moving. That is simple enough, and that applies to itself. If it collides with the triangle underscore object underscore triangle, now the object underscore triangle is the one that is in the corner, top left corner that I hit into, that does not move. This changes you into the object underscore triangle player. Simple enough. That's the action it does. If we go down, object underscore D triangle is what the enemies are called. All the enemies are called object underscore D underscore and then their respective shapes. If it collides into one of these, it will destroy the instance, which is the player, and restart the game as you saw. And the same goes on for all the shapes here, as you can clearly see. And as for the object start, if you collide with the object start on the first room, you will go to the next room, which is simple enough. As for the movement of the player, I just use press events so that the player continues moving. So on Pac-Man, when you move in a certain direction, he does not stop until you tell him a different direction or you collide with a wall. So that's what I've done for here. He moves at a speed of 5, and as you can see here, key press right moves him in the right direction. Simple enough. If we move on to the controller folder, this is where the game gets technical. When the controller object is created, it plays the sound of the Michael Jackson song and sets the score to 0. Now that is key. A step event has then also been put in afterwards, so it runs through this event. If the score is equal to 300, go to the next room. So when you have eaten all the enemies and all the pills on room 2, which is the main room, the first one, that respectively collates to 300 in score. When the 300 in score is achieved, you move to the next room. Then there's a draw event, which draws the value of the score at the top position, which is relevant to itself, and sets the colour of the score, which I believe I set it to yellow. Then we have the monsters folder. These are much like the player, however there's 4 of each, like the sprites at the top. We have here, so the circulating shape in the middle tells you what's coming next. So in order to do that, I put in an alarm event. Here's alarm 4, as this is the 4th one to go off, because the triangle starts, so there's no need telling you that what's already there you can see. So when the alarm goes off, it changes the instance that it is, which is the this one in the middle, into the object underscore x show. Now all the objects that do this I've put underscore show, so it's easy to locate them. And I also set the alarm 0 to 150, which is just so it cycles round. Now the other triangle, which is in the corner, has no events or actions because, like the wall, it is only there so that the player can collide with it and change into them. The player is much like the circle player, well, exactly the same, really. If it collides with any of these, so on. If it collides with the underscore D, it will destroy itself. That goes for any shape that's not itself. However, if it does collide with itself, then it eats that shape, as you can see here. In order to make the objects change into their respective objects simultaneously into the next one, I put a create event in, which not only makes the objects move in one of 4 directions in the speed of 4, making it slower than your character, giving you a little bit of an advantage. It also sets an alarm 0 to 150, like the 150 movements on the alarm for the circulating shapes in the middle. Alarm 0 then goes off and changes the instance into an object underscore D cross, which changes them all into the crosses, and it does this simultaneously to every enemy on the screen. It then sets alarm 1 to 100. If it collides with a wall, it reverses horizontally or vertically, and if it collides with the object underscore triangle player, I had an action here to create a flare, which was like the death symbol as I was explaining earlier. This does not work for me. I've tried it multiple ways. I know a way it can work, and I'll explain that at the end of the video. However, I did not implement that because I wanted to demonstrate that the game has flaws and I know where they are and know what to do in order to fix them. But if it does collide with the object triangle player, it will destroy itself and then set its score to 10, which is simple enough. And this goes on for all of the other shapes, so there's no need to go into that. As you can see, if I click on the enemy pentagon, it has the same. Now if I go onto the pill, if it collides with any of the player objects, as you can see here, it will destroy itself, so it removes it off the screen and then set the score relative to 10. So in the game there is two ways of gaining score. Pardon me. There is two ways of obtaining score. The easiest is the pills, because you don't have to be the same as the pills in order to collect them. However, you can only progress to the next level once all the enemies have been eaten, and for that you would have to be the same shape, requiring the strategic skill. The death object does not work, so there is nothing in it, and the object start has nothing in it because it's a placeholder. As for all the stationary objects, there is no need for them to have an event because they are not there to really do anything other than to be interacted with instead of to interact. Now, going on to the rooms, which is the last part of this, the room names are out of key. So it goes room 3, room 0, room 2. Because I made them in a odd order, blame me, I don't like to make things in order because I do things at different paces, and you know. So here's the menu screen. Now the menu is so simplistic. However, I just created a menu because you need something to come up before the game. You don't want to be thrown straight into the action. You want to be able to choose your options and so on. One complaint I will have about this game is I did not add options or configurations or anything like that for the user to use on the game. The game is a simple game, however there is things that I could change, and this being one of them. However, I just put a start object in there, and it does work. As you saw, the player is able to move into the start and go into the next room. This is you could call it a placeholder, however I just call it its simplistic form. That's what I wanted for it, just a small menu screen. If it wants to be closed, you can close the game down. Now room 0 is the main room that you saw. Here we are. As you can see, the objects are placed as 4 enemies that will go around in a random direction, so it's different every time. There's 4 different combinations, so it's harder to learn. In the corners here, the triangle, the cross, the square, the pentagon, and in slightly in the middle, bottom middle, is the blue circle. Now, as you can see in the middle is the object which changes, letting you know what's coming next. So as you can see here, the triangles are currently in rain. They are the enemies going around now, and in the middle you can see that it's going to be the X. Now, for people that have played it multiple times, you can start to learn the pattern and you can start to learn when it's going to come. However, the game is slightly unpredictable, as the alarms do start to go out of sync eventually by 2 seconds, so that for 2 seconds on the game you will not know what's coming next. Now, I at first was annoyed by this because this is not something that was supposed to be in the game. However, it adds a touch of surprise. You need to be quite witty about it and actually remember the pattern it goes in. As you can see, the pills around the middle and all the obstacles, aka the wall, is there so that you can't bump into anything. Right here though, may I add, is the controller. Now when a object does not have a sprite set to it, it provides you with this circle with a question mark. As GameMaker can't understand what you want to show, it puts this as a placeholder, and then in the actual game it doesn't have anything there. Now the controllers are used to provide music, score, lives, all that sort. So what this is doing at the moment is, on this location where the score you saw is presenting you with the score, which starts at 0 and is in yellow, so it's clear to see, and also plays the music. Now, if you were just using a music controller, it would not matter where it would go because it would be invisible. However, as it's for score, I'm putting it at the top. Looking at the room now, the only change I would make is changing the colour of the pentagon sprite, because it's black here in the corner and it can be hard to see. I've had it in the game where I've gone through and struggled to actually see where it is. Now as you can see here, this is room 2, aka level 2, and you can see it's got more pills, which makes the game last a bit longer, and it's got more enemies, making it a bit harder. So that's going to call upon your skills that you've probably learned in the first one. The annoying thing about the game that I got from my feedback is that there is no lives. Now I didn't want there to be lives. I want it to be a one attempt thing. You have to restart. However, I did not get what I wanted. I did not want it to go back to the start. I did not want it to go back to the menu. I wanted to go back to the start of the level. So if you actually make it to level 2 and then you die, you will be disappointed as you go back to the menu and you have to complete the first level again. It is tenuous. It is something I can change and something I will change in the future. But as you can see, this level, the walls have moved around slightly, just to change it up a bit, and the middle has more pills. So yeah, that is me talking about the game. As you can see, there is one glitch that I know of and I've experienced on multiple occasions with people that isn't a big issue, but is a glitch. I would present it to you, but it didn't always work. When you are the square object and you collide with the circle shape in order to change into the circle, sometimes you get too close to the wall and actually glitch into the wall. Your object changes into the wall, therefore you cannot move, and it renders the game useless. You can't continue the game, there's no way you can get out. The game's just basically there in a stalemate, and you have to close the game, which is annoying. Something that I'll have to fix in the future. But I left it in so I could recognise there was problems, as well as the death sequence not working. As for the animations of the sprites, which is simple enough, sprite triangle player, there's only two animations. There is the triangle and the cross. The triangle here, as you can see, is like the cross. It has 11 images, all spread out with 3 of the same image just to slow the process down. And as you can see, it rotates on a 90-degree turn 4 times, so it spins around. So yeah, that is Shapeman. Simple game, very fun game, fun to make, fun to play, easy to pick up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching my documentation of my Shapeman game, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.